Uh, so my topic, as said in the program, is about sustainable management, and I will continue where the Lutz stopped yesterday. We have in the beginning a little recall of the basic things, but then I continue with, let's say, managemental and economical aspect of sustainability. So, as said in the beginning, it is about definition. And this Gro Brundtland and his committee, they created the first definition of sustainability. And really, it is about the needs. So we have to take care that all the needs of us who are inhabiting this planet are taken care of. And also, we want to utilize and understand the limits of the technology and everything. As yesterday we already discussed that we have the overconsumption and we are depleting our resources very fast pace. And the basic idea is in sustainability is that in the same time that we are taking care of our needs, we don't destroy the possibilities for future generations to take care of their needs and necessities in the life. And this is the traditional three-part description of sustainability. Interesting is that basically the discussion is always over environmental sustainability. Okay, it is very important element of it. Environment is which is supplying us all we need. And environment is the one taking the damage and pollution and hits we are creating when we are doing the things and services and such we think that are necessary for our needs. But you have to equally understand the social aspect and also the economical aspect. And many times in this discussion, environmental issues are overriding all of these other two. And thing is that we cannot ever achieve any kind of balanced sustainability without considering all of these three elements. So we have to think deep in these three pillars, these economical, social, and ecological system, and to understand that it is like in this very famous picture, a building which cannot stand without all of these three pillars. And I have also added here like the foundation of sustainability. These three pillars you see here, you can see them everywhere where there is any kind of definitions and theory of sustainability. But these pillars don't stand without strong fundament or foundation. And thing is that, as somebody said that when US is talking about homeland security, they have to understand, and everybody have to understand that our homeland is this planet. We cannot isolate any areas which could be then considered somehow better or worse than others. We have to understand that we have global homeland. Everything is interconnected. Everything affects to everything. And when we understand that we are inhabiting a global homeland, then we can start building the global awareness, that we can understand how this global system works. What kind of effects there is when we are using the natural resources, especially if we are overusing it. Now everybody is talking about plastic waste, which has really, in many places, escaped out of hands. And only if we recognize the global homeland, we create the global awareness, maybe we can achieve global responsibility. We don't look just us, just me, my family, my city, my country. We have to understand that this responsibility is global, and we have to be equally concerned of the lives of others than our own. And then this concept, which I very much like, the holistic sustainability, is that really in a holistic system, first of all, as I said earlier, we have to admit that or recognize that everything is connected. There is no ceteris paribus. There is no isolated activities which can create some nice thing for us and have no other effects. We have to understand that really all our actions have reactions. And without understanding the reactions, how we can justify our actions? This trade-off thinking is something which has been forgotten and let's say sacrificed to the altar of perpetual growth. And it seems that the fundamentals, especially in economics, has been misleading us very badly. Now everybody is also talking about globalization. This is interesting that this COVID-19 situation, this is one effect of globalization. If we wouldn't have global world, this could be some local infection and stayed local, and maybe some distant news would be heard. But because world was very global in the beginning of this year, people were traveling in and out, and this way, this virus was very efficiently distributed all around the world. Globalization has also increased a lot of wealth and well-being and so on. Globalization is one of the cornerstones in our world. And as we have now enjoyed the benefits and fruits of globalization, it is only necessary that we have to also understand the price of globalization. And it seems that we have repeatedly made this mistake, which even old sayings are warning us, don't put all the eggs in the same basket. For example, when the global transportation was grinded to the halt when the corona attacked, many companies and even many countries faced serious problems because they have outsourced a lot of critical activities, and now as the logistic flows were not operating from China anymore as efficiently as earlier, then there was serious shortages of medical raw materials and electrical components and so on. And really, one of the most important things to understand in holistic sustainability is to really understand that in today's globalized world, we are very much dependent on everybody. So we cannot anymore rule ourselves out and create our own bubble. It is not possible. So, environmental sustainability. Everybody talks about nature preservation, nature conservation, and so on, which sounds very nice. And of course, it's very good PR to say that, yes, we are doing this and this and these things in order to preserve and protect the environment. My theory is that environment doesn't need any protection. Environment will always survive. We need protection. During the history of this planet, there has been very, very narrow time window when this planet is inhabitable for us. Now we are in it. And every change in that status is not good for us. If we change the status of the world, usually it makes the world more difficult, or the Tellus a more difficult place for us to stay. So those things which we very nicely label as environmental protection, it is reality human protection. We are protecting the conditions which allow us to exist here. Let's say that we turn absolute idiots, all in ABC war, atomic, biological, chemical, and we wipe out the human population. After a couple hundred of million of years, this planet would be full of life, totally different life. So nature survives. Question is, will we survive? And are we worth surviving? This is nasty question. So we should conserve and enhance our resource base by gradually changing the ways we use, develop and use technologies. Overconsumption, especially with non-renewable natural resources, in a way, in human prospect, only renewable is sun. And it will die in next 5 billion years, but I don't think that we are here to witness it. But we have some resources in our disposal, and we have been becoming specialists of overusing them. And many renewable resources, like some let's say agricultural land and so on, we have been very efficiently destroying it. So in a way, we have been painting us in the corner during the whole history of industrialization. And the question is why? This is one chart I have made some years ago, and this is, let's say, simplifying the things. Here the even line is our population, which you see that has been quite modestly growing until 40s, and then zooming up very fast. Now it is like 7.6 billion, I think, is the latest number, something like that. And this dotted line here, this is our energy consumption. And look how nicely it correlates until late 50s. And then something happens and it makes the energy consumption skyrocket. And this is good because it is also the same with any other form of consumption. And the overconsumption period started like late 60s, early 70s. And we have been, all the decisions we have been done in order to create more growth and prosperity and so on, has been fast forwarding our road to hell. Like one person said that it seems, it was, I think, old Prime Minister of Denmark who said that it is evident that we are going to hell. But luckily we are traveling in the first class. Happy voyage. Here is, this is from Gapminder organization, and here you can see the change in 200 years. Here we see the average lifetime and wealth, and as said, in 200 years ago, it was very crowded here in poor and sick. We have very short lifetimes and very low income levels. Now, 200 years later, the average level is much higher. We live much longer, we are much healthier, but also there is huge differences, like the income and health and so on. And it is the Pareto principle in the worst possible case that really minority of the world population is consuming majority of the resources. And this development during the past 200 years, that era of industrialization, we have seen a lot of nice things. And also globalization has acted very positively in this development. But the negative part is that this development hasn't been equal. It has been very unequal. So the challenge for holistic sustainability in the future is that how we can economically narrow down the differences. Or is it so that in perfect world, there is a handful of very rich people, over-consuming people, and masses of poor people who struggle to survive day by day? It cannot be so. So Pareto said that, find out in late 1800s, early 1900s, that 20 richest percent of Italian adult population owned 80% of the land, so the wealth. And everybody thinks that, yes, world more than 100 years ago, it was so underdeveloped and so on. But the latest number is that the wealthiest 9.5% of world adults own 84% of all the wealth. So we are going backwards comparing to Pareto's time. This development in the last 110, 120 years has led situation to even more concentration of wealth. And this pyramid, everybody knows it, really only the small quantity of people, they are controlling the majority of the wealth, and then masses are struggling with the peanuts. And the social and cultural sustainability, like in even in ecology, they said that we have to have this plentifulness in nature, a lot of species, a lot of variation and so on. And this should also be in culture. Monoculture is really something which is against of social and cultural sustainability, as every form of life, every animal, insect, plant have their right to exist. Same goes with our social and culture. Everything must be accepted and we have to coexist. If some species try to overrun others, it's creating imbalance in the nature, and also culturally and socially is the same. And one critical element of social and cultural sustainability is that everybody must have and should have equal possibilities to influence the process. But even in us, the rich countries now, many people, especially young people, they feel like apathic because they believe that they can affect nothing. They have to only exist, survive, and try to fit in. And this feeling of helplessness, this is definitely against of holistic sustainability. So we have to satisfy these human needs. And we must also find a way how we can coexist with the nature. It is interesting that every culture, every belief have this, let's say, theoretical idea that in perfect society, in perfect sustainable world, everybody should give what they can and they will receive what they need. But really, as I think it was Gandhi who said that the world is big enough to satisfy everybody's need, but it would be never big enough to satisfy somebody's greed. So there is now growing interest in policy among scholars and so on. What is the cultural idea? What is the aspect of it, and how we can include this social and cultural sustainability as one pillar? This is the material problem now. It is only mathematics. You can calculate how much resources we have available for us, non-renewable and renewable. And if all human beings will use only what they really need, there is enough for everybody. And this sustainable equilibrium means that if consumption is in that level, then there would be enough for everybody and it will not run out. The red pillar here shows our pattern of consumption. Okay, it is stereotypized here, consumerism. And our footprint, consumption footprint and whatever footprint is far, far more than what is this equilibrium. Luckily for us, we have billions of people who are like here. They are not wanting new thing every day. They have been finding some kind of functional balance between them and the surroundings. And many of them, I think that 4 or 5 billion people at least, their footprint is much less than what would be even the sustainable equilibrium. And the only way to create holistic sustainability is that we will change our politics, our economic system, our culture and our behavior so that this overconsumption would be cut down and we replace these consumerist values with other values like family, like balance with nature and so on. And that way we can allow these very big number of people a little bit increase their footprint to have their own fridges and so on. But this cannot be done in some G7 meeting room. This requires, as I said earlier, global understanding that this is global homeland, global awareness, and especially this global participation, that we really understand that as the rich, we have responsibility to wise up so that the majority who are missing the main things have possibility to grow up. And now it seems that some, I now use strong words, some idiots are feeding us the lie that everybody can be these kind of red consumers, that even those throw up the brush and go shopping. And if we take this, it would be game over less than 20 years. This is the world map. The darker the color, the more footprint. And there is nothing surprise here. Americas, Canada, Europe, and so on, Australia, very red. And there is a lot of areas we should learn about. India, many parts of Africa, and so on. And the thing is that part of this global holistic understanding, we could also benchmark better approach of life and so on, and how we can adjust our consumption to actual resources. This is nightmare picture. This is for the Roma Club picture. We are, okay, this was done some time ago, but what is left of this line, this is reality, this has happened. And what is here is a projection. And this will happen if we do nothing. If we keep on going to the hell in the first class, this will happen. So we will have absolute collapse of resources, explosion of pollution. I think plastics problem is just starting, and food per capita will collapse in near future and so on. But this is not prophecy. This is a warning that this will follow if we don't change our attitude. So this picture alone shows us how important it is us to understand the holistic solution for sustainability. Okay, and I don't have any slides here available for it, but I will continue then about solution. If I only read your list of problems, there is nothing educational in it, but how we can create solution? Maybe I can take this off, I don't know how. Yes, this way. Yes, and now I can even show my face, because now comes the discussion part. So almost exactly 1 year ago, there was very interesting article in Financial Times. Very unlikely source of good ideas, because everybody has think that really Financial Times is the gospel of really brutal black capitalism. But they had a very nice headline. It is time to reset. Reset capitalism. Don't destroy it, just reset it. Back to the basics. And what needs to be resetted is that since like middle 80s, we have had this paradigm that the only reason for company to exist is to make profit so that they can create owner satisfaction. That's it. There has been interesting debate. For example, one commentator in Finland said that that means that, for example, company cannot make any green decisions which may jeopardize their ability to make profit. No. They have to maximize the profit so they can give much more maximal amount of money for the shareholders, and then the shareholders can be as green as they want with the money. But the companies cannot make these moral or ecological or other decisions for the owners if there is even a possibility that the total profit would be less. But now, according to this very good article, now we have to go back to the basic of economics and basic of capitalism. Of course, it is important that companies are profitable. Of course, it is important that they can create owner and shareholder satisfaction. But this must be done in balance with equally important employee satisfaction, so that we create working conditions and salary levels and such, which make also the workers who are creating the value added satisfied, and customer satisfaction, so that we, the consumers, the people, we can feel that we are making good decisions when we are buying these products and services. So as it's said in this holistic sustainability, that it is not only ecology, it is also a social and cultural aspect and economy. And this is absolute same idea in this modern new back to the basic capitalism, that we have to equally strive for employee satisfaction, customer satisfaction, and shareholder satisfaction. And hopefully we can that way work and strive for sustainable satisfaction. End of my presentation. Any questions? Somebody's raising the hand. So
yes, that's me. I don't know if
yes,
someone else.
Yes.
Yes, again you.
Yeah.
Okay,
well,
I will kill the
I'm
picture,
showing my
but
video, so I'm not who. I don't know who else is. I agree totally, and at the same time, I'm totally opposing your theories. Sustainability at the end is a function of market. And I agree totally that it is necessary, but I don't know how utopian that is. But it's necessary to have global awareness in order to have global sustainability. That also means that you have to have global markets in which every individual has a freedom for market decision. If the individual chooses green products or asks the manufacturer of any service or product, how much is the impact of that product that I'm going to buy from you on environmental, social, or other aspects, and makes the decision according to that, and not only according to individual rationality of saving money, then we have the total sustainable society. But that's the problem. It's not the companies or the owners of the companies. The owners of the companies satisfy expressions of needs. If the consumer goes to buy a service, pays for a product, that's where the decision is made. It's individual globalism. If you, in Germany, if we buy pork from a mass production meat factory, that's paradox. We buy the cheapest pork there is in the market by the millions of tons. At the same time, Fridays for Future runs out. And
really, I'm very happy of your comment, because I think exactly the same. What I was saying is absolutely right and absolutely wrong. And the thing is that there is no simple solution. If there would be one, it would be stupid that nobody hasn't found it yet. But we have to look again. There is always, nothing happens out of the blue. There is always causes. And for example, you took example for the food production. As long as there has been these G something meetings and they discuss how they can help the developing countries to get more wealthy and so on, the poor countries, especially African countries, have had only one ask, one request: stop agro subsidies. Stop agro subsidies. Yeah. How you can compete?
Stop intervening into the market forces.
Yes,
that's the problem.
Yeah, I mean, and that is the
with
main.
All this capitalism criticism, with all the capitalism criticism, they make the mistake. We do not actually, and I don't think there's only very short moments in time where there was really capitalism. That's the market construction or the market construment by force or power of wealth. When Rockefeller builds monopolies, maybe that needs to be regulated. But otherwise, if the only function of a policy maker should be to guarantee functioning markets, and all the intervening on the industrial market with subsidies, but also the interventions in environmental legislation, that's also an intervention into the environmental market. And yes, we need definitely more liberal markets in terms of the only function is guarantee that there is a market.
And one very good evidence of absolute lack of global awareness is that something which is forbidden, for example, in the European Union, because we have found out the hard way that it was very, very bad, like child labor, like slave wages and so on, they are reality in very many parts of the world, and our companies are brutally utilizing that, and that's why they are selling us €5 shoes and so on, when everybody knows that it takes 30 euros to make shoes.
We are buying it. It's the individual who makes that decision. You need to have transparency, and you have to have functioning markets.
And we have to have same rules everywhere.
No, I'm not sure. Yeah, but the rules must be limited or minimal. Because
no, the rules, I think that the rules of employment, rules of work safety and so on. And yeah, as long as
if there is a functioning labor market, these rules are unnecessary.
Yeah, but
the only need, or the only thing that public policymakers need to make, is to make functioning markets. And that includes labor markets, and that includes environmental sustainability markets, and that includes, of course, material markets, of course. But if you have a functioning labor market, for example, you allow migration, you allow those people from Bangladesh to run away from Bangladesh to Europe to work here, the money they have to pay in Bangladesh for the textile workers would be 5 times, because there would be no one having to work in Bangladesh. But we don't allow it. We intervene into the labor market. And that's not correct on a global scale.
And now everybody is so concerned, for good reason, of the stupidities of Mr. Lukashenko in Belarus. And still, we have seen the Rana Plaza catastrophe in Bangladesh and so on, and we couldn't care less. Where is the international uproar, scandal, thousands of people died because of these low substandard working conditions? Where is the international pressure for those governments to adapt the minimal safety laws and so on?
Yes, but again, I don't think it's again the forbidding. You know, the Green Party in Germany, for example, has now the nickname of the forbidding party. They regulate everything and they forbid everything.
And taxis.
Yes, but liberate everything so that the individual can actually make a free choice. That includes migration, that includes, you know, the possibility to make your individual choice, but you're not allowed to make an individual choice. The family that lives in Bangladesh and chooses at the end to work in Bangladesh under these conditions doesn't really have a choice, because they are not allowed to come to Europe to work or to USA.
And here comes very nicely. They must be now, I have to maybe add one layer more for the foundation of sustainability: global liberty. Global knowledge, global homeland, global awareness, and global liberty.
Maybe that's one point.
Yeah, but I'm now over time.
Yes, but it was not possible to stop. I think it was very, very important.
It was very interesting. This presentation is only good when it's live. I'm like a stand-up comedian. I really, if I would have classroom ahead of me, I think we would have now very, very good discussion with the students. But luckily for you, my good friend in Chappa Institute, you were the mouthpiece of the students. And really, what is it that we have come so far to wrong direction because we failed to make the right questions? And okay, I stop with my presentation with my final, let's say, pre-idea. The biggest problem of sustainability is that we have been making, like, in my lifetime, at least, the wrong question. And the wrong question has always been how I can get more. That is totally the wrong question. The right question is what is enough and how I can do with less.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.